Hello Flosstube, welcome to Grandma's World. I'm Debbie, and welcome back to the kitchen. I'm not sure there was a good reason to move back to the kitchen, especially since I'm fighting the backlight here. And the fact that the light just isn't very good. I wanted to do this earlier this morning, and it was so overcast. I said, oh, the light's gonna be crummy. Let's wait until it brightens up some, and it didn't. It's still, we call it May gray here in Southern California. We have May gray and June gloom, and it's only the 2nd of April, and we've got May gray already. So there's no predicting. There's no predicting. Before I get into this, I wanted to show you this. Is that adorable? So see, they go all the way around. I got into Rae Dunn last year. It was all Becca Murphy's fault. I managed to avoid it watching Priscilla and Chelsea with their collection, but Becca of Sambrie Stitches seems to have more my preferences with cute stuff, and so she would show stuff and I'd like, where do I get that? So I collected about this time, started about this time last year. In fact, that's when I got that mug. I actually found a lot of really cute things over the course of the year, and now the house is full. After spending 2 years purging stuff out, I managed to fill the spaces with Rae Dunn, so I had to stop. But it was fun this morning when I decided to go ahead and unpack the Easter stuff and try to do some decorating around the house. It didn't get done. I ended up with a bigger mess than I had when I started, but it sure was fun to pull all that out and enjoy it. And these little bunnies I found at Home Goods this year, they were on a string. They look kind of gross because they're actually bunny heads on carrots, but they look so cute in here. So I said, well, let's give that a try. Maybe if I hold it still, YouTube will decide it can be my thumbnail, because they don't usually pick the things I would like to feature. The main reason for doing this is to share my magazine monthly challenges for April. And today's already the 2nd, so I need to get the video made. But I do have a few other things to share and a mess around me, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and share them. Starting with, I have a finish. I was working on, where did I put the pattern? I had a whole handful of stuff to bring in here, and I don't know where it all ended up. This looks promising over here. Yeah. So this was from, 2000 and, let's see if it says on here, and it was 2021 summer. So it was just this past summer, and I subscribed to Punch Needle and Primitive Embroidery, and I subscribed to the print edition. And when you subscribe to the print edition, you get access to all the digital back issues. And I had a lot of fun with that. And one of the pieces that I fell in love with was the Priscilla Blain summer piece. And so I worked on it. I finished it. Yay. I made a mistake on it that I'm not going to point out to you, but it was just one of those things where you get off one early on, and then you work off of that and end up with a real mess. And that's kind of what I did, and I ended up leaving stuff out and moving things around just to get a little bit of the symmetry back. But I can live with it. Before I did the moving around and changing things so that I could get the symmetry back, I couldn't live with it, but I can now. And it's going on this piece. if you follow them at all, you know that for the last year they've been doing a series, a monthly series called the Calendar Crates. And I really like the Calendar Crates, but they're clearly designed for a specific piece from a craft store that I don't do. I don't shop at that craft store. So I was at Home Goods last month and found this. It was a lot cheaper than the one that they're all using for Calendar Crates. $16.99 instead of, I think it was $49.99, and then if you used your coupon, it was a good thing. But anyway, I didn't pay that close attention because I knew I wasn't going to go buy it. But this one, I think is going to work out. Now, it has this part up here, this negative space here, is not big enough for the Calendar Crates. But I think this is going to work fine there once I finish it. And then this spot is a place where you can put things. So the flowers and all can go there. If I wanted to, I could go to Joann and get a mason jar attaching thing and attach the mason jar here. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'm going to see what happens using this space. And the hooks are here to hang things from, but what I got excited about was that this is a little chalkboard space. And I would like to use it as a second, instead of having the small hang here, I might be looking at different ways to fill this space with more cross stitch. And what I did this weekend, of course, they released some new cross stitch charts this month, and their cross stitch charts are bee themed. And this one came up, and I said, well, this has to happen. This is Honeybee Farm. I don't know that I'm going to do it in exactly these colors. I don't know that I like this green on the back, although the new BeStitchMe fabric that I subscribe to came in. And it's this color, and that might be really pretty. It's not showing at all. I hate to open it because it really is irritating. The crinkling. I'll put it under the table and see if I can save you some pain. BeStitchMe color for my club, the club I'm in, is called Aventurine. It is a gorgeous pale teal, and it's not showing up at all. So anyway, it's almost a mint green, and I might be able to use it for what I want to do here. I don't think that I want the white barn. I think I want it to be more of a traditional red. I had family in Kansas when I was growing up, and they did have lots of red barns back there, so I kind of want to touch on that. But this piece is not going to fill that whole empty space, so I went to see what else they had honeybee-wise, and they had Honeybee Lane. It's one of the tiered tray tidbits, and again, I think I'll probably change the house colors, but the bees are there, the sunflowers are there, and the scale is right. If you put them side by side on the graph paper, they're going to work together. So I think what I'm going to end up with is a couple of houses, one on either side of the barn maybe, and then the skeps and the sunflowers. So I think that's going to work for that. And then to finish the piece, yeah, so I live in Southern California in Ventura County, and I don't live in the town of Simi Valley, but it's fairly close to where I do live, and there was a quilt shop there called Quilty Pleasures, and they just moved into the Simi Valley Town Center shopping mall. And I actually kind of went into shock when I walked in the other day. I was there Thursday. I would have sworn that they had replaced every single bolt of fabric, that they hadn't just moved it from their old shop to this new shop, but that they had actually replaced it all. The whole vibe of the shop is totally different and totally delightful. It is so beautiful in there. It's bright, open, high ceilings, lots of shelves. I can't wait to take my mom. They've left the aisles wide enough that it has wheelchair access. And at any rate, I just could have stayed in there for hours. It was so comfortable in there. And but I didn't buy a lot of fabric, but I bought this. I saw it and I said, oh, that is the cutest bumblebee fabric ever. But I don't know if it's going to go with what I just finished. And I brought it home, and it does. And I think the reason it does, I think the reason it goes so well, I have lots of bee fabric here, but it's all yellower than this. This is kind of on the orange side. And I think it's because she used little red centered flowers that are giving more of an orange feel to the whole piece. So I'm going to be finishing that up. And then I also ordered materials and tools to make needle felted bumblebees. And that's my next challenge, will be to get at least one big needle felted bumblebee made for this thing so that I can put it on the wall. So that is my finish, my one finish. And I've made quite a lot of progress. I didn't really fill out the Magazine Monthly Challenge for March until about halfway through the month. So I don't feel like I got a lot done, but I did get some stuff done. And then I have filled out for April. I'm ready to get going on that. I'm not going to go show everything because it was only half a month's worth, but I did make some progress, and I'll show it as I share this out. So it'll be whips as they fit in the Magazine Monthly Challenge. So the Magazine Monthly Challenge, the whole idea is that you get some charts done that have been kind of lurking around from magazines that you may have kept. And so I try to make the theme fit the magazine theme. And so for this month, for April, the one that I really would like to do more on, and I bet it's not sitting here, but I have what I finished anyway. It's from Cross Stitcher magazine from 2019, I think. It's called Happy Haunting, or maybe it was 2020. Anyway, it was called Happy Haunting, and I'm doing it on a piece of fabric flare fabric. I don't know if you can really see it in this light, but it has like maple leaves, fall leaves all over the back of it. And I had already finished the house and one of the apples as part of the Magazine Monthly Challenge from earlier in the year. And I had a few things that I had finished, one here, one there, just to be able to say I did it. For the challenge for March, I wanted to finish the yellow in this moon, and that's all of this here. And I did. I finished all the yellow in the moon. And then I also we used the letter R, and I wanted to finish the 3 red apples. I had one of them done from a previous month, and then I wanted to finish these 2 red apples, so I did that. And I think that was all from that. Well, it's back on my April Magazine Monthly Challenge. Oh, here it is, Cross Stitcher from 2019. I want to finish the entire moon piece here. It's kind of a vortexy looking thing going on. And so I still have a bunch of étoile to fill in, and then these orange colors to add in there. So this finishing the moon is my theme goal for the month. And then the acrostic this month is the word bookmark, bookmark. And I'm really trying to focus as much as possible on some things that I want finished. 2 of them I want finished by June, and then this thing I want finished by the by October. I had to go get something. So since I had to go get it, I went and found the photo of the Halloween piece, Happy Haunting. And this here, all of this is what I want to have finished by the end of this magazine monthly challenge. That all of this moon stuff. It's been really intimidating to me, and I feel like if I could get that finished, I could really kind of plow through and finish the rest of it. So that's my goal on that, is to finish the moon. And I don't want that to get too far away from me. I'm referring to it a lot. All right, so for the acrostic, the border, the B, I want to finish the border on this piece. This is the Snowflower Diaries Joyful World Calendar. This is the June block. And I got to start on it. I love this border here. I think I talked about it last time. And my goal for this month is to get this border done. If I can do this one as well, that's fine. But this is the one I really want to focus on. And when I finish the borders, this piece will be finished and can go into my Bears and Bees display in my entry. So that's the motivation on that one. And then there are 2 O's in book. So for the first O, I'm going to be working on these owls. I got to start on them, but neither one of them is finished. So this one, I need to finish this. There's a lot missing in the wings. And then this other one over here, he needs his feet and eyes, and that's all. Just for the fun of it, I filled in the Halloween last week. So that I don't like doing letters, but I like doing topography. When the letters are an art form in themselves, that's fun. So that was a fun thing to fill in. For the other O, I want to do the oranges, the things that are the color orange in here. So that includes the orange in the moon, and it also includes the pumpkins across the bottom. I would like to put in an appropriate amount of time. Now, I don't set actual goals as far as time. My goal is always to finish my day by 7 o'clock, take my shower, put my jabbies on, and go into my stitchy place and stitch until about 11. Lately, because I've been doing a lot of yard work, I've been falling asleep with the needle in my hand by 8 o'clock and sleeping for a couple of hours. So I'm not getting as much stitching done as I would really like to do. And I might just have to take up having a small cup of green tea when I start stitching to give me a little bit of a caffeine boost to get me through till 11, because I really don't want to sleep. I don't want to sleep between 7 and 9 and then have to get up and be awake in the wee hours. It messes up my sleep cycle to do that. So I'm going to figure out a way to stay awake at that, because the other work has to get done too. But anyway, that's the O's will be the orange colors and the owls. The K is also in the Happy Haunting, and it turns out each of these lines of black back stitching text has a K in it. So when black, K, cats prowl, and pumpkins, K, in pumpkins, gleam, may luck, has a K in it, be yours on Halloween. So I put in, just to do all of these black, the texts on it to get those backstitch. If I have to adjust it to where I'm only doing the words that have the K's, I will. But I don't think it'll be that hard. I don't think I'm putting too heavy a load on myself for that. For M, I'm moving to another project that I want to finish by mid-June, and that is Lindy Stitches, Stephanie Webb's A Stitch for Sweet Freedom. It's this. And I would like it finished by Juneteenth to add to my entry display for the month of June. It would be nice if I could get it done before then, but and I have a lot done on it. I'm kind of happy with it. There's a mistake in it. I'm not going to show it to you because your eyes will only always go to it the way mine are always going to go to it, but I'm not going to fix it. And what I'm going to be working on this month, which will almost finish it, I want to do the motifs. For the Yemen Bookmark, I'm going to do the motifs that are left on the pattern. So I have these three here, and then the motifs in her skirt. And I think if I can go through and finish the motifs in her skirt, then in May, I should be able to just do the fill-in on the skirt, and then she'll be done. And I just have to finish her. So that's what's going on for M in Bookmark. The next letter in Bookmark is A. I'm going to skip that for a minute because I got such a kick out of this story of what the A is going to be. So I'll tell in a minute. For Happy Haunting, again, for R, is going to be the raven on the branch, which brings me, the theme in this is literature. And the way that I'm attaching this to literature is by focusing on that raven. Where did that go? We just had it here. Here we go. So there is a raven on a branch here, right here. And so this is my literature. For me, this was going to be my literature connection. Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Raven. And R is for the raven, and on the branch. The goal is to finish it, and it's part of the literature piece. For the K in Bookmark, I'm going off cross stitch. I didn't bring it out to share it. I don't think I have it with me. Let's see. No, I think it's still sitting in the guest room. I like traditional embroidery. I think I said this in the last video, and particularly I like a designer named Kathy Schmitz, and I bought a piece of her fabric that has the printed, I know I showed it in the last video, it has printed patriotic scenes, and what you're supposed to do is go over it and embroider over them and then use them for pillows. And I decided for the K, I was gonna see how my timing is going on all this, and if necessary, or if the time is available, let's put it that way, I'd like to get at least one of those Kathy Schmitz things done this year, and I'm gonna put that. You still use floss on it, so it's still a floss thing, but I put it in here as one of the things for this monthly challenge. The A, to go back to the A, I just got such a kick out of this. In this piece, the Happy Haunting piece, the apples, they're poison apples. And how do we know they're poison? Because they have green goop on them. Okay? And in the design, in addition to the apples with the green goop, there is this bottle with green goop in it, spilling out and pouring away from the bottle. Let's see if we can get it to focus on it. Yeah. So I'm looking at this design, wanting to get as much of this done this month as I can, having it meet the literature magazine. You know, it is a magazine pattern, and I want it to fit all of that. And I'm looking at this and saying, okay, so is there a poison that starts with the letter A? And I'm actually kind of proud of myself that it came to me right away. Arsenic. Arsenic is a poison that starts with the letter A. But what color is arsenic? Is it actually green? Can I do this green using arsenic as a poison? So I went online to learn about arsenic, and oh my gosh, it was so exciting to me I couldn't get to sleep that night. I taught American history to 13-year-olds for 25 years. And one of my favorite lectures that I gave, I didn't give a lot of lectures, I had them doing mostly hands-on projects, but I never gave up the lecture on the progressive era, the populist movement, and the various issues that were of importance to populists. The populist movement is at the end of the 19th century, into the early 20th century. It was mostly an agrarian movement. It was the farmers in the Midwest were suffering a long, long drought and looking to the government for help to help them get through this long drought. And then there were just a lot of other issues that they felt the government, this is the Gilded Age, talking about this era. Had to replace the battery. At any rate, Gilded Age. The Biltmores, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Astors, the whole, everybody from Molly Brown to, gosh, so many names. I used to have the kids do a ragtime day, we called it, and they had to pick a name out of a hat and be that person for a day. It was so much fun. And now I'm not going to be able to remember a lot of the people that we did. But the point of it all was that we were looking at social issues. We start looking at, you know, it actually sounds very familiar to today. You had incredibly wealthy people lighting their cigars with $100 bills. That was the time period this came out of. And then you had a lot of people living in poverty. The people that were holding those businesses up were living in tenements, and some of them were working the day shift and would use the bed at night. And then the people that had been asleep in the bed during the night or during the day would go and work the night shift, and 13 people in a room. And at any rate, the point was the unit would start with these issues that were important to the populist movement, and then it would run through toward the end of the school year. We ended up with the growth of unions coming out of this, and Triangle Shirtwaist Factory and some of those things. Any rate, so there were all these issues to talk about. Just briefly, we didn't have time to get deeply into any of them. I just wanted a way to introduce them to the kids. And I used The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum to do it. Now, I always did a disclaimer at the beginning of the unit because, to the best of my knowledge, we have not found anything in writing by Baum to indicate that he was a supporter of the populist movement. Now, he lived in the town where the movement started, at the time that the movement started. And there are all these different icons from the book that do represent the issues that were of concern to the populists. And so I just would say, look, I'm not saying that he was a populist. There's no evidence of that. But I can use this book to teach about these issues. And so that's what we're going to do today. Just sit back, relax, no tests, just Just listen to the story. And so we would get into the book and start at the beginning of the book, and then talk about the issues. So starting with, the populists, of course, wanted to go to a dual standard to back up the money. Instead of just having gold stored away in places, in vaults, in safe places, they wanted to bring in silver and have a silver standard as well as a gold standard. And their argument was, well, if one chunk of gold is worth $100, a chunk of silver could be worth $20, but that way you could print more money and get more money out there, and that would help people, because there's a shortage of money, because there is a shortage of gold. So the going to the dual standard, adding silver to the standard, was one of their really big deals. And Dorothy's shoes in the book are silver shoes. And then she sent, to go find the answer to her problems, she sent to visit the Wizard of Oz. And it's just always fun to say, okay, so how do we measure gold? And someone in every class always knew you measure it in ounces. And I'd say, yeah, and so what's the abbreviation for ounce? And the whole class would go, OZ! Go, yeah. And pretty much the whole book went that way. We had the Munchkins representing child labor. We had the Scarecrow representing the plight of the farmers in the Midwest. There's even a quote by a congressman. The farmers send a delegation to Congress to ask for help, and the congressman is quoted, and it's recorded, documented, him saying, well, if these farmers had a brain in their head, they could solve this problem themselves. The Tin Man, representing the dehumanization of the Eastern factory workers, the Wicked Witch of the East, is the one kind of in charge of that whole Eastern nightmare that people are living. And when Dorothy drops a house on her, that's where the celebration comes from. The Munchkins are freed. The child labor is freed. And the Tin Man, who she, of course, charmed his axe, and it kept cutting off his body parts, and then eventually he had to get a tinsmith to rebuild him a body. Well, he wasn't human anymore. He was dehumanized by the Wicked Witch of the East. What have we got? Dorothy herself is considered to represent every American. Toto represents nature. And I'm not going to do the whole lecture for you. The opium abuse was a big social problem during that time. People mostly getting it in laudanum, although the students are always interested to know where Coca-Cola gets its name. The coca, of course, coming from cocaine, which was originally part of the drink. And then, but it was mostly in laudanum. Mothers weren't taking care of their children. Men weren't going to work because they were all just zonked out on laudanum all the time. And of course, on the way to Oz, they run through a poppy field and they fall asleep. And this was part of the social problem that they were having, can be used to represent that social problem. And in the end, of course, the solution for the Wicked Witch of the West, that's where the farmers are having their problems with the drought, and the answer is water. You give it water and there you go. So at any rate, I'm looking at arsenic as poison. And as I'm reading about arsenic, it is fascinating. 1770s, chemist named Scheele, S-C-H-E-E-L-E, Scheele maybe, discovers that if you use arsenic as a pigment, you get a really pretty green color. By the middle of the 1800s, people are turning their houses over. They're going from candlelight to gaslight. The houses are brighter, the rooms are brighter, and people are more interested now in using bright colors. They actually show up in all this bright light. And so mid of the 18th century, a company will develop a dye for fabrics and fibers, and start making things using this new color, that arsenic is in. The William Morris Company was really famous for some of their beautiful wallpapers, for example, were used with this new color. Women's clothing was in this new color. Carpeting was in this new color. Paints, even postage stamps, they used this new color. And people were getting really ill from it. The people who worked with putting the arsenic in and making paints out of it and wallpapers and everything, their eyes would turn green and they would vomit green. And so it was obviously really dangerous to there, but they were using it in children's rooms and the children were wasting away. The women would wear dresses made of this color and to parties and pass out before the party was over. It was still in effect. People were still having problems with it. The one story that I read about Claire Booth Luce was staying in a place in 1950 and got really ill from arsenic poisoning, and they figured out it was because in the room above her, the ceiling of her room was painted, still had the old paint on it that had the arsenic in it. And the room above her, the apartment above her, they had just bought a new washing machine. And it was thumping. And so the powder from the ceiling of the room that Claire Booth Luce was sleeping in was falling on her. And that's how she got sick from arsenic poisoning. Queen Victoria wallpapered a room in Buckingham Palace with an arsenic color. It was one of the they were really beautiful wallpapers. If you go look them up, you'll recognize them because some of those designs have been used in fabrics within the last 10 years. Not with arsenic, but they're colors taken from those, or textiles, quilting fabrics taken from those old wallpapers. At any rate, she, a foreign dignitary, was sleeping in that room and became extremely ill. And she had the wallpaper taken down, although apparently the wallpapers made with that color smelled like mouse droppings. So that might have been why she took it down. There is some speculation that Napoleon Bonaparte, that arsenic poisoning from decor in the house where he was living when he died, that may have contributed to him dying. So what was the color that was created when you put the arsenic in? Emerald green, like the Emerald City. Now the kids were always fascinated to learn that the only reason you saw the emerald green was because you were wearing the glasses. And so we got into some conversation, or I shared conversation that I'd read about corruption. If the Emerald City is supposed to represent Washington, D.C. at this time, then the corruption in Washington, D.C. would be hidden. You wouldn't see it if you were wearing these colored glasses. But now I'm just so curious to see if I can find any more. I went and reread the book, and it doesn't really, it doesn't make the city seem like it was toxic for any reason, just that it was corrupt. So anyway, that was so much fun. I wanted to call. I calculated out once that in the course of my career, I'd had over 4,000 students, and I wanted to start calling them and say, hey, you remember that Wizard of Oz thing that I did? Well, here's something new to think about. Kids really loved that lecture, and it always happened right around open house time. So they would go home and tell all their parents what they'd learned, and then the parents would show up for open house all excited that they'd actually had a fun conversation about school with their kids. At any rate, for my goals for this, now I can use arsenic green here to do this. This will be the A in Bookmark. I will do this, all of the rest of the green in this line. So that gives me the apples and the bottle and the poison. And then all I'll have to do to finish that is the skulls. And I have one skull partly done. I think I was doing it for an S in something in another challenge. And then I went ahead and finished that bottom border one night. So I have hope. This could actually get done by October at this rate. Another thing going on in April. So I went to the Magazine Monthly Challenge just to back up the story, usually on Saturdays, my son brings my grandchildren over to play. So I was not able to go and participate in the Magazine Monthly Challenge Zoom calls because I was being a grandma instead, and that's always more important. But the last 2 months that have had Zoom calls, there's been something that has interrupted our visit. And so I've been able to participate, and that's where I got really kind of recharged up to participate in the Magazine Monthly Challenge. I'm so glad I did, because I really did get more done because I had that focus to work with. And then they were also talking about the GaRon slash Sunshine Stitchers. It's the Sunshine Stitchers with the 614 Stitcher, Candy Carr, and their Designer of the Month challenge that they're doing. And I didn't really get into that at all until I heard them kind of talking about it. So I had gone back to take another look at it and see if there was some way that I could work this in for the rest of the year. And I was looking at some of the months. But part of my issue was that the designers they're chosen are not my thing. They're not my vibe. I'm not a big Nora Corbett fancy ladies. I'm not ever going to do any of those. Or Mirabilia. I'm not ever going to do any of those. I am a hands-on design fan, but that one had already gone past by the middle of last month. And now they were on, for March, they were on Rosewood Manor, another Rosewood Manor. This month is Ink Circles, Long Dog Samplers. I have no interest in those designs that are so busy, so filled. They're just not my song. They're not singing my song. So I think I got that far down and said, I'm not going to even do this. But the people at the Magazine Monthly Challenge were excited about it. So I said, well, let me go take another look. So it turned out I could have done Nora Corbett because I have the Winter Animals series that she did. But January was long gone. Hands-on design, I do have things I could do by them. I am a fan, but it's, again, February was past, so I kind of crossed that out. And now we're halfway through March, and I'm not going to do anything Rosewood Manor. I don't own anything. I'm not going to go buy anything. And then April, again, Ink Circles and Long Dog Samplers. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm certainly not going to go start new projects just to be able to fit this calendar. So what I decided I could do, and I'm not posting anything, it's just me working at home to do this, to be involved. For hands-on design, I moved it into March, and I had fallen in love with, and I'll see if it's in here. Yes. The 17th. I don't want to do the block party. I want to do the, do I have that part of it in here? No. All right, so the chart is somewhere else. But I'm going to do it and then finish it all in one piece. So for March, I was able to get that much done. And it seemed appropriate because I was just making this decision to do this right about the middle of the month. So I already had this stuff because I'd ordered all the called fors. So I did get a start on that, and I'm going to continue that this month. since I'm not going to do ink circles, I'm not going to do long dog samplers, I'm just going to continue on and try to make progress on the hands-on design piece. And then May, I didn't think I had anything by Blackbird Designs, but I do have Octopus's Garden. So I will at least put my hands on that and get it started, if I can do so without too much of an investment. And then for June, Plum Street Designs, Summer in Nantucket, I had just bought that. Pam Schaffner finished it, or was working on it, and I fell in love with it. I love the East Coast, especially Maine and Massachusetts. I have not been to Nantucket, but I've been to Cape Cod, and I've been to Ogunquit, and so, in fact, I'm wearing my Perkins Cove, Maine shirt right now. So I said, okay, and so that Plum Street Designs, I've got that one too, because I have Summer in Nantucket. It's all ready to go. July is Erica Michaels. I may end up buying a piece for that. August for Bent Creek. I already have Summer Row and the Lighthouse. And so I will pick one of those. September is Glendon Place. I do have a Glendon Place piece. I have the pirate ship. I just am not interested in starting it this year. I would rather focus on these things to get them done. Cricket Collection, every time I've seen it, I have loved the October row thing that they did, so I probably will end up buying that unless, anyway, I'll probably end up buying it. For November, Twin Peak Primitives is their focus. I did buy the magazine of patriotic ornaments, so I could do one of those. And then in December, the only piece I have by Teresa Kogut is her United We Stand, but I really like it, so I can see myself starting that. There's been one other thing going on. I think this is all I have to talk about. I've touched everything else. And that is, a lot of us are happy and excited and congratulate Ronnie Hoveter for his citizenship. He got sworn in yesterday, and there was a, excuse me. I managed to get into the Zoom call to his Zoom call to congratulate him a little bit early, which is nice. I can't usually do those Zoom calls, the GaRon Zoom calls, because they're on Sundays usually, and Sundays are my days that I stay with my mom. So it just would be too much of a distraction to try to do a Zoom call and have a nice visit with her. So I just have never tried to do it. But they did this on Friday afternoon, and it was convenient. So I got in, they were there early. And so I got to share my congratulations. And then as more and more people showed up, I slipped out. But the challenge was, or the invitation was, to be working on a patriotic piece to honor Ronnie getting his citizenship. And I had purchased this from Expo last year, or earlier this year. I don't remember when Expo happened. This is the Silver Creek Samplers Founding Promises, the promises of equality, justice, and hope. And I loved that sentiment. And we were supposed to stitch something with a flag on it. Now, I had this in place mid-month in March as one of the, I wanted it in 2 places in the acrostic last month, but something happened and I got it all kitted up, was ready to go, and then found out that Victorian Motto Sampler is back up and working again. I guess Nancy's, I assume he's her husband, Tom, is doing the orders, is selling the product again on Etsy. And I was so excited. I love their flosses. I'm really sorry that Nancy has gone through what she's been going through for the last 14 months, and join in all of the good wishes for her to go into full remission and good health. But in the meantime, Tom's taking care of the orders through Etsy, and I just kind of set aside this chart until I could get my hands on their flosses for it. And so I ordered their patriotic package. It was in there within just a few days. And these are the colors that are in it. There's Betsy Ross blue. Put it in front of my face. Golden Eagle. Classic Bronze. These are 20-yard hanks. There is Patriotic White. And then the two that I was most excited and waiting for, there's Classic Flag Red. Is that gorgeous? The variation on this, the variegation is beautiful on this one. And then Flag Blue. So it got here in the mail, I think, Thursday. And I was able to get started on the piece during the Zoom call on Friday. So I got some of the flag done. I'm not sure about this fabric. It's a picture this plus 18 Aida called Earthen. And it has a little bit of a pink tinge to it. Rather than just brown, there's a little bit more red in here. And to me, it's reading pink. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this one on it, but my plan originally was to use the same fabric and the same flosses for a handful of smalls for the 4th of July. So we'll see how that goes. So that's it. I think I covered everything that I wanted to share out with you. And looking forward to tomorrow. It was supposed to happen last week. My mom celebrated her 90th birthday in March, and my son wanted to celebrate with her, but we didn't really have he couldn't do the party. We ate. We went for Mexican food to her favorite Mexican restaurant, and the family came, my brother and my sister and my sister-in-law and her grandson and her daughter and her daughter's husband, and we had a lovely time. But my son couldn't come and do that. It was on a Wednesday night, and they have 2 little ones, and so his alternative that he suggested was that he'd bring the boys to her house last Sunday. Now she woke up with a bad cough, and so they postponed it to tomorrow. So I win tomorrow. I didn't have the kids to myself today, but that's okay, because they're going to come over to Grandma's, and we'll have a nice visit and get barbecue takeout delivered and just have a wonderful time. So yeah, I'm gonna take this and see if I can edit it. I upgraded my editing program, and they seem to have taken care and made one settings change based on a forum recommendation. And instead of taking my last Flosstube, instead of taking almost 20 hours to upload or to do the export function, which is normal, it only took 2. And I couldn't believe it. I kept going back and saying, really? You're done? You're really done? So I can probably get this edited and uploaded and posted tonight if I go get started on it now. Bye. So see you next time.